We have a first-of-its-kind lawsuit coming out of Colorado here. The Guardian explains, a Colorado family has sued a marijuana dispensary alleging that an unreasonably dangerous cannabis-infused candy was responsible for the murder of their loved one in a wrongful death suit. The three sons of Christine Kirk, who was killed by her husband Richard Kirk in 2014, filed a lawsuit against Nutritional Elements, a Denver dispensary, claiming that the business sold the man a candy that failed to adequately warn users about the risks of psychosis and paranoia and led him to suffer hallucinations before he fatally shot his wife. All right, now, before, you perhaps have the same reaction that I did, let me continue here because I think it gets even more interesting. Andrew Monty, a University of Colorado emergency medicine physician, offered expert testimony included in the lawsuit, writing, "It is my professional opinion that Mr. Kirk was intoxicated with THC leading to delirium and psychotic-like symptoms at the time of the homicide." So, in other words, they're saying, well, if it wasn't for the fact that he took it, he wouldn't have killed his wife. Because he took it, and then he had delirium and psychotic-like symptoms, and that's when he shot his wife, and he was totally out of his skull, and he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Oh, boy. All right, so the first thing that came to mind when I read this was honestly a story that we covered recently, which explains how in a small percentage of people, I forget the exact number, forgive me, but they have, it's actually a gene that makes it so that their reaction to marijuana is a reaction like this. By the way, I think I have that gene. Because at least half the time, it's probably more than half the time that I smoke weed in my life, and I've probably only smoked weed, 15 times or so, something like that, I was paranoid. And, I'm always like, my mind goes down these weird paths, and I'm thinking that, I'm in danger and somebody's going to attack me. It's just weird. Like, I'm always paranoid, okay? So I can relate to that feeling of like, oh my God, you become paranoid, you become insecure, you have like some psychotic symptoms. Now, I'm somebody who knows enough about drugs that I knew like, okay, this is going to wear off eventually, so I was able to kind of calm myself down or whatever. But I mean, obviously there's some people where that's not the case. And furthermore, edibles, the way your body processes edibles, you get even fucking way higher than when you just smoke weed. I don't know exactly why that is, but I've read some articles on it, and just the way that your body processes it, it has basically more of a psychoactive effect. It kind of acts like a hallucinogen in a way if you eat it and your tolerance is low, and especially if you have this gene that we're referring to, which some people have a bad reaction to marijuana. Now, obviously, to be crystal clear here, most people do not have that gene, and you talk to most people, and people who smoke weed on a regular basis, they go, no, it just relaxes me, and it makes me feel good, and yada yada. So, this is not to demonize marijuana, this is not to demonize weed smokers. I would give you guys the right to smoke. I would think it should be legal, taxed, and regulated, and, I'm not coming after you in any way. But reading this, what would my decision be if I'm the judge and I had leeway and I could basically do whatever ruling I want? Well, one of the things they say in the article is apparently this particular dispensary and this particular candy didn't have the necessary facts on the packaging, and it didn't have the necessary warnings on the packaging. Well, if I'm the judge and I have the ability, would I say, okay, well, now I'm going to mandate that you have it? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I don't see any argument against that. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure most dispensaries do put, exactly how much THC is in there and exactly what the potential downsides are and exactly the recommended dose. But, I mean, to me, when I read stuff like this, I think, oh, this is what basic regulation is all about. So weed should be legal, it should be taxed, it should be regulated, and under that umbrella of regulation, I would put, yes, I'd put a warning. Yes, I'd put the amount of THC. Yes, I'd be very specific about that warning, and I'd let people know, hey, just because, you're eating it doesn't mean it has the exact same effect as smoking it. It's more powerful if you eat it, and, some people sit there and they'll pop these, like, weed chocolates or whatever, or sour gummies or whatever, and then they have, like, 6 of them. Later on, they're in the fucking hospital. They go to the hospital because they think they're going to die because they don't know that you're supposed to actually eat, like, half of one. You see what I mean? So I think education is the most important thing. Yes, there are some people, probably myself included, who it's just not their drug, so you should stay away from it. But outside of that, education is the answer. Education, regulation, more disclosure and transparency. And then after you do that, would I do anything else? No, I don't think so. So I'm not exactly sure, based on the article here from The Guardian, what they're suing for. Like, from what I didn't look to me like they were asking for money. It didn't look like they were trying to put the company out of business, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But it appears like one of the things they're saying is, it's just label it, man. Fucking label it properly. Put the amount of THC, put the recommended dose, put, hey, warning, in some people it has these reactions, yada, yada. I don't think that's reefer madness. I don't think that's propaganda. I think in some cases, a small percentage of cases, it is true. So those warnings are necessary. And my heart goes out to the family, because it is a really sad scenario. I mean, we've also covered stories. There's very, very rare instances, but they do happen, of people who they'll eat it and they have the similar symptoms, and then they think they could fly and they jump out a fucking window. Again, we got to be crystal clear, though. You don't blame all marijuana users. You don't blame marijuana. You don't blame the fact that it should be legal, taxed, and regulated. Not at all. But the answer is, like I said, more education, more regulation, more disclosure. That's the answer here. And outside of that, it's just a tragic situation, and my heart goes out to the people affected.